So this will be just a quick video. Me and my wife will be doing another one shortly, hopefully within the next week or two. We're sorry for being so far behind where we really intended. We had all these plans, and then fate laughed. Done a lot of things. For example, we finally found a second vehicle, and unfortunately I made a joke about, as if you watched the Facebook page, I made a joke about, wouldn't it be funny if we got a motorcycle instead of a car for a second car, and the amount of money we had would buy a decent motorcycle, but it wouldn't buy a decent car. So we got a motorcycle, and if anyone's wrenched on vehicles, it's lovely. It's a 20-year-old Vulcan, a Kawasaki Vulcan. So that's been fun, and then the tire place screwed up the tires, and then there was getting the tires, and then finding out we didn't plan to get the tires, but it turned out the tires were very cracked, and we hadn't seen that when we bought it. And it needed an oil change, and this change, and that change, and I've done most of the work myself. Let's see if you can see it. Yeah, still got some of the grease on my finger. Anyway, stuff. Oh, and my wife signed us up for a Spartan race. So we will be doing a Spartan sprint in our area in about 6 months-ish. They say 27 weeks in counting. And yeah, and we went up to a mountain close by, the one with me in the picture with the white shirt and the glasses and the funny hat. Yeah, we went to that mountain. Unfortunately, it was still covered in snow, and we took a hike up the trail, realized there was so much snow, we turned around, I sank up to my crotch in snow. I was like, okay, we gotta go. So life has happened, among that many other things. So anyway, to get to the quick point, the value of ignorance. The value of ignorance, to assume that we always know, to assume that we have all the answers, that just doesn't work. As I spoke previously, I had a 20-year-old Nissan truck, and since 2008, I think, 2007, I have owned and wrenched on that truck. And before that, I had, a Ford station wagon, and before that, I had a VW Type 3 transporter, and before that, I had a Mazda. I never intended to become anything remotely resembling an amateur mechanic, but I'm poor. And because I'm poor, I need to wrench my own self. Now, it turns out that my dad, even though he's a lawyer, spent a lot of time being poor, and he likes to wrench on things, so he's pretty good at it. My brother's pretty good at it. One of my brothers is pretty good at it. My mother can get through it. But she owns her own tool set because she's afraid, she lives far outside of a city, that someday her car will have a water pump fail or an alternator fail. She won't have the tools. And she can follow a book, like a Chilton's or a Haynes. So the value of ignorance applies there because while I can wrench on my truck, I always have a book. I always had a Chilton's book. And I'm going to be buying a Haynes book for my bike. And bikes are different. I thought I could just throw any old oil in there. Turns out that motorcycle oil, as you're watching my kvetching, is part science, part religion, and mostly bullshit. I ended up getting some oil that absolutely positively would work, and some people were saying yes, and other people were saying it's going to ruin the bike. And long and the short is, bike works right. But the value of ignorance was that I thought I had the answer, and then I realized that maybe I was wrong, and so I partook of maybe I'm too ignorant on this subject to know the answer. So I looked up, and I'm kind of sorry I did because of the amount of just complete mishigas, complete bullshit. There's very little good data out there. But I ended up getting an answer, and I ended up getting the right answer. So I guess it worked. I also am not afraid to ask questions. And that's something that as Aspies that we have a problem with. I mean, it's a normal human thing. I don't want to look embarrassed. I don't want to see the right thing. What's the old joke about men not asking for directions and women do? And the color is because men, are uncomfortable in social situations or don't want to seem that they're wrong, or it's about perception. women are more social, and that could be complete horseshit about men not asking for directions. I mean, I spent 8 years as a career. I asked for directions all the time. I don't know. But the point is that it does show in that context that some people are afraid of being embarrassed and will therefore harm themselves to avoid being embarrassed, i.e. having the wrong directions. And other people don't have that problem. So the value of ignorance is learning to be stupid. I don't know how to say it. Just learning that you don't know, and maybe someone else does, and that person could inform you. The net is big and powerful. So, don't be like, I don't know anything. But it's like, I don't know this thing. Why is this? Being unafraid to look stupid. It's very, very valuable in science. If you think about it. Scientist goes, I don't understand this. Maybe my colleague does. The value of ignorance. Why can't I? We sometimes make confections. Certain confections me and the wife make, I can't make. I just can't. And then I tried to teach her how to make matzah, and she's a freaking chef. She can make an okay matzah, but she calls it the Jewish connection sometimes, or mostly because basically it boils down to I've grown up learning how this is supposed to taste and feel and everything, and she hasn't. And the margin of error for making good and just okay is really small. And I hit it consistently, and she misses it, and I modify it by feel. But if she ever wanted to make some, she would not just do it. She would say, I don't understand. Can you help? So the value of ignorance is the value of pretending for just a moment that you don't know what you're doing. And thus, you need to go out and find it. And it applies to everything I've ever said about this series in some way. You ask me a question, how does the value of ignorance apply to this situation? And I will answer it. That's a challenge. I dare you to find something that I can't figure out where there might be a problem, how the value of ignorance could maybe help solve a problem. So, anywho, that's just it. It's just sort of a quick little thing. Aspies, we are sure we know the answer. Absolutely, yes, indeed. And then we don't, and we're like, we don't want to touch that. Well, the value of ignorance works in both places. Because, to sum up, because when we think we know everything, we don't stop, we don't check, we don't do this, we don't do that. We may be stepping into territory, i.e. the motorcycle oil issue. Hey, oil's oil, right? Well, as it turns out, for very good reasons I won't go into, oil is not oil anymore, but 20 years ago it was. The value of I don't know nothing was me turning to my wife with certain confections going, I don't know how to do this. I've never learned how to do this. And will you teach me? I went, and what's strange is she gave me a funny look. Was like, didn't you go to the classical French culinary school? I'm like, yes, but we never got to this. So, anyway, the point is, if I could sum it up in one sentence, make your ego small enough and be a big enough person to not be afraid to ask questions and to value the fact that you don't know everything as a way to make sure that you're doing what you need to do, or what you want to learn how to do, or whatever. Have a good day.